All right, Steeler fans, second half of the Friday podcast means it's time we go to the Coach's Corner. Coach KT Smith back. What's up, Coach? How's it going?
What's up, Jeff? Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. All the Steeler fans out there, hope yours was excellent as well.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot to talk about. I listened to your Here We Go Steelers show with Brian Davis earlier this week, and I've never heard you that frustrated before with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And since I've been around you, working with you, has the frustration subsided a little bit, or is it still, is it still up there?
It's the danger of doing a show like right after a game. You still have elevated emotions. Has it subsided? Nah, not really. I mean, this is a frustrating team. This is a team that I think I was talking about this with Brian, is really kind of the definition of mediocre in that they cannot string together complete performances or strong successive performances. The offense is great one week, but the defense not very good. And then the next week it'll be the opposite. And it just feels like they're a team that is short, whether it's from talent, coaching, whatever it might be, of the ability to be consistent. And I think that the best teams are consistent week in and week out.
As a coach, you strive for consistency because you need it. When you think about this Steelers team, and if we're going to play the blame game, do you put the blame and the onus more on the coaches or the players in the execution of the plans? What do you think?
That's such a complicated question. It feels like week to week, it varies because there have been weeks where you've said to yourself, boy, that was a great game plan. Like after the Steelers acquired Kyle Duggar and they simplified their scheme defensively and the pass defense got much better. You said, man, excellent work by the coaching staff to recognize that they were too complicated, and the players were playing slowly as a result, et cetera. There have been times where you looked at Arthur Smith and you've said, boy, he's really doing a great job with the jumbo package, or he's really starting to make great use of Kenneth Gainwell. And then you just get these confounding moments as well. So I think that the coaching, like the performance on the field, has been inconsistent.
Hand in hand. They go hand in hand. I guarantee you. All right. I was asked this question in the mailbag segment on Wednesday's podcast, and I wanted to get your take. I think it was from Jeff Coons, a buddy from up north in Canada, or as he says, not Mad Canada. And he asked about positives. He said, what are some positive takeaways? Because right now you go on social media, you listen to the radio, anyone that's talking about the Steelers, they are bashing the hell out of this team. And I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but that doesn't mean that everything is bad. Now, I'll tell you right now, I said that the offensive line's performance has been a positive this year, especially a guy like Zach Frazier, I think is going to be a really good center for a really long time for this organization. I'll let you chime in on the offensive line, but where are some other positives, if you can draw any, so far for the Steelers team?
Yeah, absolute positives. I mean, we'll start with the line, right? You ever watch any of Brian Baldinger's breakdowns? Yeah. He loves Zach Frazier. Zach Frazier. If you're going to be an outside zone scheme, your center's got to be able to reach, block defenders to the play side. That's a tough thing to do. Snap the ball and then beat a guy to a spot who's already positioned with an advantage to that spot. And Zach Frazier does it routinely. I mean, he is a really perfect center for this Arthur Smith offense. I think Broderick Jones is getting better. I mean, it's not by leaps and bounds. He still has his moments where he gets beat in pass rush. He's too high a lot with his technique, but he's absolutely improving. I think Troy Fautanu is going to be a stud. You watch him week in and week out, and that's a guy who he's only got 11 NFL games under his belt, but he already looks like he belongs. And Mason McCormick's coming on. You know that Mason McCormick's getting better because the Steelers are actually starting to implement some gap schemes into their run game where they're allowing him to pull, and they never did that last year. So you're right. O-line, start with that. Kenneth Gainwell, man, what an acquisition he's been. He gives the Steelers an element in space at the running back position they haven't had in forever. I mean, they've tried a bunch of guys in those roles, and they never really panned out. But you're now seeing them scheme for Kenneth Gainwell, which is wonderful to see. So there's definitely some positives to speak of.
You think the Gainwell so he's on a 1-year deal. You think they try to bring him back after the season?
I don't know, man. What will his market be? You would like to think that they'll try to bring him back. He's still a fairly young running back. I mean, he's got some tread on the tires. I think he is a great compliment to Warren because of their contrasting styles.
Now, you've talked about Derek Harmon and being a positive on the defensive side, and the Steelers are going to be without him on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills with a knee injury. Any other defenders that you like that have been a positive? Could be veteran, young player, doesn't matter.
Well, all three of those rookie defensive linemen have not only been positives, but are getting better each week. I think Wyatt Black is a guy who does some really good things when he's in there. He doesn't get moved. He commands double teams. And there's still a place in the game for the old school Casey Hampton style nose tackle or defensive lineman. Jack Sawyer's getting better each week. I mean, he's not going to be a big time splash player. Like, he doesn't have the burst of a Nick Herbig or the repertoire of a TJ Watt, but he's physical and he's smart and he understands leverage and he doesn't get moved off the ball. So I think, man, the Steelers really did themselves a service on the defensive line with those three young guys.
The last player I want to ask you about, two actually, and they're both going to be entering, some contract negotiations. Keanu Benton and Joey Porter Jr. What's your status on them at this stage of the season in terms of where are they trending, in your opinion? In the right direction, wrong direction? What say you?
In the right direction, for sure.
Okay.
I think Joey Porter has been very good since returning from injury. I think Benton has gotten better and better as the year has progressed. Cam Hayward, how many more years can Cam be Cam? I mean, does he have one more good one in him? The Steelers are going to need Benton. And with some of those other additions, if you're looking down the road at a defensive interior rotation of Benton, Harmon, and Black, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, I asked you before we hit record, I was like, is there anything you want to get off your chest? And your response was passing game design. So, Coach, go ahead.
Well, it doesn't help that as you asked that question, I was literally breaking down films of the Rams and their passing game.
I mean, that's the worst thing you could do.
You couldn't have asked for a worse contrast. Here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? All right, so I'm watching a little bit of what the Rams do. They scheme Puka Nacua open. They run schemes to get him open. I just put something up on my X as you were asking me about this, where here are the Rams. They recognize that Tampa Bay's in man coverage. They motion Nacua one way. They motion him back the other. They insert him through the C gap, which is the gap in between the tackle and the tight end. So here's your wide receiver going up through the line of scrimmage. And that really conflicts the defender covering him, because as Nacua enters through the line of scrimmage, he's got a two-way go. He can break right. He can break left. The defender, he's got the whole field to work with. And then on the outside, they run vertical routes and they just clear out Tampa's receivers. They basically just opened up the entire field for Nacua. And all he did was he read the leverage of the defender and he broke opposite. And Matthew Stafford hits him for a catch and run of like 25 yards. The Steelers never do stuff like that. I mean, if they scheme anything for DK Metcalf, it's like a pick play where he runs a little slant. They actually ran that on like the second to last play of the game last week against Chicago, and it gained 2 yards. Like, just the inability or unwillingness to use the middle of the field and scheme their receivers open is maddening.
Well, DK Metcalf and Puka Nacua are also completely different styles of wide receiver. Is DK Metcalf a type of receiver that can do what you're describing with Puka Nacua in terms of, not just that specific play that you just kind of mentally drew up for us, but also I feel like he might be limited a little bit. Do you agree or disagree?
Maybe. I mean, he's not a quick twitch, great route runner like Nacua. Few are.
Right.
But you could do it with Roman Wilson. He's a great route runner. And that's another frustration of mine. Where is he? Where is he in the offense? When you look at that Bears game, he wins deep. He's like one of the few guys that does. There's a couple instances where he wins deep and Mason Rudolph can't get him the ball. I mean, because it just bad throws down the field. Yet Wilson played a very limited number of snaps. He's disappeared in the game plan. But you can scheme DK Metcalf open. Get him on the move, right? Line him up out wide, motion him down in towards the formation so he's moving at the snap. And when teams are trying to cover him in man-to-man, they're shading him with a safety. I mean, that's part of the problem too, Jeff, is that, like, when you look at the Rams offense, you got Devontae Adams. You can't devote all your attention to Puka Nacua because you have other threats. Who else is threatening defenses other than DK Metcalf? They're shading him with a safety. They're locking everybody else down man-to-man, and they're not doing anything scheme-wise to help those guys get open.
It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating, and I know that the fan base has their frustrations. And so what we do every week here is I always put it on my Twitter. You have any questions for Coach? We have 3. So this is going to tie in perfectly. Our buddy Steeler Fan 69 said, "Is DK Metcalf worth the investment?" That's a tough question at this stage, based on the limitations from a scheme, quarterback. Who knows there? What do you think? DK Metcalf worth it?
He could be. I mean, I will continue to bang this drum. The absence of a legitimate wide receiver number 2 to take pressure off of Metcalf, to force defenses to honor something else, is greatly limiting both Metcalf and the passing game in general. Now, I'm of the belief, I think Roman Wilson could be that guy. There's obviously something here that we don't see. Is it a practice thing? Does he not understand the playbook well enough? I don't know what it is, but they're not giving him those opportunities. It's not Calvin Austin. It's not. Right. He's not scaring defenses. He's too small. He gets jammed up at the line of scrimmage. You can't work in the middle of the field. So could DK Metcalf be worth the investment? Absolutely, but not given the current makeup of that wide receiver room.
And what's really crazy is a lot of people, at this stage of the game, you're kind of limited. Like, you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the practice squad. Other than that, this is what you have. And so people might say, well, could a rookie come in and do some good? Yes. I mean, recent NFL history has shown us that rookies can step into the NFL and be a difference maker if the Steelers choose to go with a wide receiver early in the draft. We'll keep tabs on that as we get there. All right, next question from Roberto Robles. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. He asked, some Steeler fans want to move on from Coach Tomlin. Not saying it'll happen, but who, in your opinion, would be an interesting replacement? What would you like to see changed? It's a tough one.
That is a tough one. In fairness, I mean, this is not a question I've researched or given a whole lot of thought to, but I will say this. Whatever the Steelers do, they have to invest in a young offensive mind. Maybe not at head coach, maybe at offensive coordinator. You've had 3 coaches in my lifetime. I'm 55 years old, right? 3 head coaches in my lifetime. They've all been defensive-minded guys. All right, in fairness, Chuck Noll played guard. But the Steelers made, he was a lineman, had a lineman mentality. Sure. Bill Cowher, a linebacker. Mike Tomlin made his bones as a defensive coordinator, et cetera. Their identity has been defense, but they have been hamstrung for years now by their inability to run a proficient modern NFL offense. They have to invest time and money in the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. So, I mean, does that mean as at the head coach? I don't know. I'd have to take a closer look at some of the available candidates, but it certainly feels as though the league has moved past the Steelers in terms of philosophy offensively.
I saw on Twitter this morning, someone said that Dan Orlovsky should be an option. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
No. He hasn't coached, man. It's one thing to be an analyst. I had Mike Mayock on my podcast earlier this year, and he talked about that in great detail. The difference between analyzing it in a studio versus doing it for real is massive. And he didn't even realize how much of a difference it would be until he went from studio analyst to general manager.
All right, the last question from Believers. He said, do the defenses and offense, for that matter, do their issues lean more towards a scheme issue, not throwing over the middle or starting players that should be playing over others, or is it strictly a lack of skill, advanced age, and injuries piling up? You kind of touched on this earlier, but I'll give you one last shot at it.
If this were a multiple choice question, the answer would be D, all of the above, right?
Yeah.
Because there are scheme issues. Now, look, the Steelers do some things really well scheme-wise. I had an article up on our Steel Curtain Network page this week about the evolution of the jumbo package. I mean, Arthur Smith has turned what initially started almost as a novelty into what could be an entire offense. He's running boots and screens and counters and jet sweeps, all sorts of stuff out of that jumbo. Spencer Anderson, they might as well slap an eligible number on that dude. He has become an unbelievably valuable piece of that offense. I love what they're doing from that perspective, but their unwillingness to attack the middle of the field in the passing game is criminal. And I mean, there's no greater example of that than watching the Bears just torture the Steelers down the middle of the field the other day. And Pittsburgh's avoidance of it is just costing them so many opportunities, and it's making the preparation of defenses so much easier. You know, if you know they're not going to throw there, then that's a third of the field you don't have to defend, and it's really hamstringing them.
It's also really freaking frustrating. But anyways, let's continue as we always do with our AFC North look. Now, the Bengals and Ravens played on Thanksgiving night, so we're just going to focus on the 2 games on Sunday. Let's start with 1 p.m. The San Francisco 49ers, 8-4. They're coming off a Monday night win over the Carolina Panthers. They host the Browns, and Shedeur Sanders getting another start. They're coming off a win over the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is a 4.5-point spread. The 49ers giving the Browns, even though they're on the road. What do you think about this game, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, obviously, for Cleveland. San Francisco is a really good football team. Shedeur Sanders did some good things in his starting debut, but man, they kept I reviewed the film of that. They kept that package really tight for him. I mean, half of his passing yards came on a screen pass and like a broken scramble play. So like when he's in phase or on platform, however they want to say it, he's limited. And San Francisco is pretty good. So I suspect that one will go the 49ers way.
I think the 49ers win, and I think they cover the 4.5, although Myles Garrett might break the sack record in this game. Like, who the hell knows? Like, this guy's a monster. And Steeler fans are going to hate saying that, and we talked about it on the NFL Whip Round this week. That guy is a freak of nature. How many games? Let's say I'm going to set it at 0. We're going into week 13. I'm going to set the line at 3.5, Coach. Over or under how long it takes Myles Garrett to break the record.
He's got 18 sacks. He needs 4. He needs 5 to break it. It's 22.5.
Yeah.
You said 3.5 games. I'll go under. I'll go under.
Oh, my God. I would too. I'm not going to lie. All right, let's talk about the 4:25 game. Steelers hosting the Bills. That's funny. I did a podcast on Wednesday with the Behind Enemy Lines. Had a great guy from the Circling the Wagons podcast join me. And the Bills fan base sounds an awful lot like the Steelers. They are upset. They're disgruntled. They want heads to roll, whether it's McDermott, whether it's being the GM, they want everyone's gone. And they're frustrated. Josh Allen's not playing the way that they expect him to. They're running the ball well. They can't stop anyone on defense. When I listened to him, I was like, man, this makes sense why the Bills are only giving the Steelers 3.5 and a total is 47.5. Coach, before we even get a prediction from you, what do you think about this game coming up?
I have a good friend who's a Bills fan. And yes, you're 100% right. He says a lot of things that sound very similar to what Steelers fans are saying. The head coach, the angst about the head coach, they feel like they're wasting Josh Allen by not surrounding him with a better cast of receivers. That sounds very familiar. So, this is one of those games where you feel like, hey, man, Buffalo's had their way with Pittsburgh a lot over the years, but every once in a while, the Steelers, like when they had that 5 turnover season opener a couple of years ago, they turned the Bills over 5 times. They'll rise up and win. It's a circle with the wagons game for both teams, kind of. Buffalo, the Patriots aren't slowing down in the East, and Buffalo needs to keep pace. And obviously, the Ravens are steamrolling, in the North. So, I have a hard time seeing the Steelers win this football game, unfortunately. But I wouldn't be shocked because, again, like they did against the Colts, they sometimes will rise to the occasion, particularly at home.
And if you think about this, the Bills are 7-4, the Steelers are 6-5. If the Steelers find a way to win this game, then they would both be 7-5. The Steelers would have the head-to-head win and the matchup over the Bills. When you think about the Bills have the head-to-head win over the Chiefs, they have the head-to-head win over the Ravens. This is a very, very important game. And I think that the Steelers realize that. I think Mike Tomlin, he is a master motivator for everything that he may lack schematically and as a detail-oriented coach. He makes up for in motivation. I think this team's going to be ready. You assume Aaron Rodgers is going to play, right, Coach?
I think so, yes.
I said Steelers win 23-22.
Let's go. 23-22. All right.
Yeah, what the hell?
I like that score.
Weird ass scores. Like, I mean, not for the Steelers, but 22 points. Like, yeah, I think let's get some wizardry. The Wizard of Oz out there to walk it off. I would be.
Well, the way that like these coaches go for 2 now, and some of the unconventional decisions they make, you're beginning to see just strange. We had a week this year where there were 2 games in 1 week that ended 44-22. So, we're seeing some weird scores. Yes.
Weird scores. Absolutely. So, all right, Coach, this has been a great show. I want to give you an opportunity to plug your Call Sheet podcast and what else you got coming up for the Steel Curtain Network.
Yeah, we're starting now to as we wind down the high school football season and some of the college teams to now pull in some of coaches around the country. Really, we're kind of expanding our reach now to begin to get coaches from all over the country on the show. So look for a lot of guests now to start returning to the podcast. It's been a steady cast of characters for the fall, but we'll change it up now as we head towards winter.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Make sure you check out all of our work at steelcurtainnetwork.com, including the article that he referenced, which ran on Wednesday, talking all about the jumbo package and the evolution of that. Go to steelcurtainnetwork.com. But Coach, thanks for your time, man. We'll talk next week. Enjoy the game.